Hello, everybody, and welcome to the best and worst of Walt Disney World, brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel, experts at helping you plan your next Disney vacation. Be sure to visit them on the web at dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. It will not cost you anything extra on your vacation, and if you book with Dreams, you help support the show so we can keep making these shows and bring you all this content that hopefully you enjoy. Today's episode, I am your host, Ryno Clavin, first of all, and today's episode, we're going to be talking about the worst disappointments maybe that we've had or that you could have at Walt Disney World. And to join me for this discussion, we've got Deni Sunderly.
Hi there.
And it's just us. We're just chatting back and forth again today. And again, this was another topic given to us by a very precious listener out there.
Yes, my husband, Brian. Thank you, dear.
So thank you. Brian has now given us 2 topics for 2 episodes. So if you want to leave us in the comments of this video, Twitter, wherever you need to get in touch with us, we're always open to topics. I mean, the whole thing is we want to use our experiences to either help you relive your magic or to help you plan your next vacation and whatnot. So we're here for you. So just let us know what you want to hear. Let's dive right in here. When I think of the worst disappointments I've had at Walt Disney World, my mind immediately goes to my Disney experience.
Okay.
Anytime I hear the word worst, that's the first thing I think of in terms of Walt Disney World. But, I've talked about how I do feel like it is, and it's ever changing. All these things are ever changing right now in a COVID-19 world and stuff like that. So it is a resource that you do have to use. You do have to, because it's got a lot of really important park information on there. You make your park reservation through there. You could do that online as well, though, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So,
absolutely.
They'll send you push notifications. They've been doing that a lot lately too. Like the other day, they sent one about annual pass holders getting extra discounts and stuff like that. So it's always evolving. But I have had in my life some. I'd just say one of the biggest disappointments is kind of when we had the switch over from Legacy FastPass into my Disney experience in the beginning, and it was very. It was difficult and was something I thought I could just get around because we're not a very big planners in my family. I said it before in the other episode, and I've said it before on other shows, that I'm a very big broad brushstrokes person. I want to make sure, are you able to, how do we get there?
Yes.
how long we're going to be there, stuff like this, like where are we going on what day. But other than that, I'm very like, okay, I just want a list of being like, I'm happy if I get to go on this and this and maybe eat this thing, and what became kind of difficult with my Disney experience, a lot of stuff happened around this same time. There was a lot of ADRs, which are advanced dining reservations. That kind of really threw my family for a swing because my mom, no one in my family can think ahead of time like that. They don't like to think ahead of time like that, but my mom will be in a park and say like, oh, you know what? I want to go to a sit-down restaurant. And on one of her trips here not long ago, that was a thing we tried to do, but nowhere was accepting walk-ins. It was all advanced dining reservations and nothing was open for around that time. And it was kind of a bummer. And it was like, she lost out on that experience. And then also it was a really busy day. So we really couldn't just because we had only bought her ticket day of, we really were limited on the experiences that we could do in terms of FastPass at that time. So we, again, lost out on a little bit of that experience. So it was just a little bit of being in a theme park with my mother was not disappointing. She did enjoy herself. We were able to see Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and, do some other stuff. And so she was happy, but to say that she wasn't a little disappointed on that experience and that I was disappointed in myself would be, that's the truth. It was a little bit of a disappointment. So I would say, some of this stuff you do have to learn, adapt to, and that's how you're going to get around having an experience like that,
Absolutely. I mean, I found myself in the same kind of situation with my dad last year when they were here. My mom and dad were here in April and we were in the studios, and I knew that Dad would love Hollywood Brown Derby and he loved the thought of it. And he said, well, let's go. And I'm Dad, time out. Okay, let's have this discussion about this thing on my phone that says there are no reservations available. Like this, you can't just go and do that 9 times out of 10. And of course, we went in, we inquired at the host stand if it was possible. It wasn't until later there was a possibility, but it was too late. And of course, Dad wants to eat, when he wants to eat. And so we ended up, but we still had fun. We had a good time. Like you said, the time was still well worth it. It's just, it can be a stumbling block. And that if you are not prepared to utilize it in the way that it's been designed to be utilized.
Yeah.
And you made the great point, like get used to it before you get down here.
Yeah.
Play with it. See, especially now when you bring up COVID-19. So all the quick service locations are mobile ordering now. They expect you to have My Disney Experience and to roll up to that dining location ready to pull that up. You're going to order outside of the outside of the restaurant, say that you're here and you're ready for your food to be prepared, and then they're going to send you a push notification when your food is ready, and they're going to direct you where to go pick it up and all that jazz. And I had one of the Facebook live streams that we did from the park that first reopening weekend. I had people asking, so what do I do if I don't have a smartphone? Which is a great question. Like if you you're still rocking the flip phone.
Yeah.
How am I getting my lunch? How's this going to happen? And so I stopped and asked one of the cast members, and they said, no worries. We have one cash register open.
Okay.
With one cast member there. For people who are in that situation, they don't have access to My Disney Experience, whatever, you can actually order in person. It's just gonna, maybe it takes a little bit. I don't know that it takes any longer, but so there is a workaround. But like you said, if you can, play with it before you get down here, because you're in the heat of the moment when you're here on vacation. Literally, it's hot.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
And you've got your traveling party who's hungry, and your stomach is telling you it's time to eat lunch, and you just don't need to be opening MDX for the first time.
Yeah.
Let's know what we're doing before we get there.
Yeah, and I think like Deni just said, how she investigated that situation. That's what we hope we can be for you as well. That kind of thing where maybe we can help provide you that information and that workaround. So getting feedback, like questions like, oh, well, what if they don't have a smartphone? That's really great for us, because that's something that, since we live here and that's kind of our job, like we can look into for you and make your life easier. And that's a goal of us, is so that you don't end up like us.
Let us make the mistakes for you.
Yeah, exactly. But my piece of advice for anybody that is stuck in these situations, like Deni said with her father, or maybe with like my mom and the mobile ordering and stuff like that, is to, this is easier said than done, but is to take a breath and just be prepared when you come here too, that not everything is, and this is true no matter how much planning you're probably going to do too, not everything will end up going your way for whatever reasons. There's a plague ending the world or something, stuff like that. I don't mean to make light of that, but it's stuff that we don't know what's going to happen. So just be like, okay, we have to adapt to the situation. So I think that's how, when you are coming upon a disappointment, it's about turning it around and saying, okay, this is disappointing, but how do I turn this around? And so I'd say, the thing with my mom is it was just the one day, because I was like, okay, well, we're going to go home and we're going to really dig into this. And then, when you come back in 5 years, we'll do it again. But she visits me more than that, but you know what I mean? But, it's just one of those things that my best piece of advice, and I am somebody who gets real angry when they're hungry and stuff like that, is to just, know yourself and realize that there's going to be a learning curve, right? Yeah.
Yep.
And
And pack a snack just in case.
that is how I avoid most of my disappointments, is always having a snack in my backpack, in the fanny pack, in my pocket, in my car, and wherever. I like literally have them hidden around my house. Like I could pull over right here and there's some applesauce. I
It's
am
a
ready
scavenger
to
hunt.
go. Yeah. Yeah. Well, what about you,
Love
Denny?
that.
What do you have in your worst disappointments,
So, okay, so the Disney dining plan currently in this COVID-19 reopening phase, we don't have the Disney dining plan currently being utilized. But if it is or if it isn't, this could kind of go for the same thing. It's whenever the Disney dining plan is back on, or whenever you're down here on vacation, when you're here, it can be awfully disappointing if you don't manage things like your snack credits wisely. I've been there and done that, where I've gotten to the last minute, last day, last minute of the trip. Literally, we've got to get back to the resort to jump on the Magical Express to take us to the airport to get on the flight to go home, and I still have snack credits left. And I think a lot of us have been there and done that, and it can be super frustrating. So we planned back in 2012, we've got these snack credits, and we planned, okay, our last park is going to be Epcot because I want to get that ice cream in France. Okay. So if the Disney dining plan isn't, going when your trip is here, this can pertain to that. Getting your favorite snack, get it earlier in the trip, because there we were shaking and baking through Epcot to get back to the France pavilion to get that daggone chocolate ice cream, which was delicious, by the way. But then I also had other snack credits. And so I jumped into the bakery, the patisserie, and got a chocolate croissant and a palmier, and had them, they bagged them up. And I ended up eating those on the flight on the way home. Which,
funny.
Hey, that's better than anything you're going to get on a flight.
Yeah.
But still, I could have enjoyed those in other ways while still in Disney World. And so you might be tempted on your trip. Hey, I've got 5 days here, or I've got 3 days here. I'll get that Mickey bar later, or I'll get that fill in the blank with your favorite snack or favorite meal or whatever later. Yeah. Don't put it off.
Disney World is not the place to show restraint.
No, it's true. It's true. Don't put it off. Manage your snack credits or your, must do's or must buys or must sees wisely, so that you're not disappointed at the end of your trip.
I think when we were talking about the worst disappointments that you can face, I just feel like being unprepared for the weather can be super disappointing. And I know we've said it on the show repeatedly. We talk about weather all the time and how hot it is here. I want to do the flip side this time, though. Yes, it is always like living on the sun here. And you think you've sweat, you haven't sweat yet until you come here. So, obviously be prepared for all of that stuff. But I don't know how many times I've had people who have visited, like, it can be random times. It could be March or April or something. It gets cold here too. It's usually very warm during the day, but at night sometimes it can get chilly. Not during the summer, obviously, and all that stuff. But I don't know how many times I've had like friends and family and stuff, and bringing another sweatshirt home because you don't have that sort of stuff. But also, you don't come here in like January and think like. And I do this whenever I go to California, so that's why I'm trying to say this, is that like I'll look at all the weather, the temperatures it says, and I go, okay, well, how many pairs of pants is this trip going to require? How many? Still bring some of that stuff just in case, because even though it might look cold the entire time, bring the bathing suit. Even though it looks like it's going to be 100 degrees the whole time, you might get a sunburn and be really cold in your room. So bring a sweatshirt, bring a couple of those unexpected things. And that's my tip to you. You can avoid some of those disappointing things. Cause let me tell you, when you are in a theme park and you are in desperate need of a sweatshirt and you are just like, I cannot spend the $50 to $75, whatever it is for a sweatshirt. And you're just like shaking through like it can put a damper on the day. So, that's what I always say, try to, that clothing thing can help you really avoid disappointment. Fresh socks, extra shirts, the underwear. If you think, don't be packing just 2 extra pairs. I'm talking 2 for every day. Okay.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Layers really are essential when you're coming down here. Like if I'm going into Epcot to see the concerts when the concerts are a thing, and Lord willing they'll be back again. But I'll go in to Epcot in the fall for one of the concerts at the America Gardens Pavilion, and I'll have extra layers in my backpack because inevitably the sun's going to go down and it's going to get chilly. It just is. On one of our trips in June, I actually I brought a light sweater with me, like just a cardigan, and I would tie it around my waist, have my short sleeves on when we're doing rides and all that jazz all over the park. But you'll step into a queue, an indoor attraction queue, and the AC is blasting mercifully, which is a good thing. So, but I just threw that little cardigan on just during my wait in the queue. So definitely be prepared at all times because I'm okay being a little hot. I cannot stand being cold and not having any reprieve. And so you are going to be staring at that really cute yellow fluffy sweatshirt to the tune of $60. And you're going to end up having to buy that thing if you don't have a little something. And, especially times like January, it does actually get cold in Florida. So, and you don't want to not, I guess when I'm traveling, I just like my options. I think that's probably it. So I usually am not in this boat. I have plenty of extras, too many extras, really. But I agree with you. You got to be prepared for the weather.
Yeah. I put something in my backpack. That's why I always have something, just in case. Because like you said, you get wet, you get cold. It's just the up and down can be the end of me. So I'm just like, sure. I'm always prepared with that. But what about you, Deni? What do you think? Another worst on here?
Okay. So for me, what surefire way to end up with bitter tears of disappointment is, for me, in my mind, not planning some non-park moments during your trip down here. I get it. When you are living far away from your happy place and you have the opportunity to go to your happy place, you want to cram every last minute filled with magic that you can. And I've been there and done that. So I talked on the Best Surprises episode about how much fun planning is. Well, here on the worst disappointments, sometimes we can overplan. And that overplanning that we're going to go here and do this and go, can leave those who are being drugged through the experience. And even if you're the one who's planned the thing, it can leave you just in a heap in the corner. And that's no fun for anyone.
No.
We've been on a trip before where we've got grandma and grandpa, kids, my husband and I, and you get to Wednesday, you got there Saturday, you've been going, you get to Wednesday and you're ready to just, put everyone in timeout because you can't stand the sight of each other for just another minute. And that's not any fun. So definitely take advantage, whether you're on property or off property, take advantage of the amenities at your resort, especially if you're on property. We talked about it in the Best Surprises episode. There's just so much to do. And if you don't proactively plan that non-park time, you might miss some of these amazing, amazing experiences, like, having a blast at the pool for the day, or, making a tie-dye t-shirt in the resort lobby. All those things are available to you, but you got to go into your trip knowing that you got to have a little non-park time.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that can kind of be a disappointment is when you are staying at this like resort that might be cool or new, or maybe it is one of your favorites, and you just don't get to like do anything there at it. And I feel like my family has kind of made that mistake because it was we did like 2 or 3 days at the cabins once, and this was, I think, my nephew's first trip here. And, they wanted to do a park every day. And I was like, okay, well, the cabins are pretty cool. There's a lot to do at the cabins at Fort Wilderness. And we And, and that kind of, I think we ended up getting rid of the third day because that's what they realized was happening. We were going in the morning, and we're not one of the type of people who can leave the park and go back. I don't know why. That's just never been the type of people we've been. I can do it when I go to Disneyland just fine. But for some reason, Disney World, I can't do it. It's too far. And I have had those experiences where and I know this isn't at Disney World, but at Disneyland, I stayed at, I've had the opportunity to stay at Grand Californian a couple times. And one trip, it was just like nonstop, but I was in there as part of the trip. And I was like, I feel like I was just sleeping in this hotel and I didn't see any of it. And like, I still have yet to actually go to the pool. So, that's one of the, I hate that feeling when you're leaving and you're just like, oh man, I feel like I was literally on top of this one awesome thing and I missed it, and I
Yeah.
missed out on it. And like, and it can be a bummer, but also, so that's why I always say, how long are you going to be in the hotel on this trip? Do you need to
Mhm.
spend the extra money on the higher up resorts, or are you fine with one of the value ones, So it's about kind of knowing that. And I think that also, kind of ties into the next thing that we're going to talk about, which is thinking that you can do it all can really lead to a lot of disappointment. And some people, that's the challenge they like to face and go through. For me, I like to have my list of very, very big highlights. Like I want to do this attraction, because I'll be disappointed if I don't get to do, if I'm at Animal Kingdom and I don't go on Dinosaur, I'd be disappointed. That's me. Nobody else in the world, probably, apparently, from what I understand, but I would be disappointed. And so I think it's kind of like we always say, managing expectations and just, kind of being like, okay, we're all aging. Time it moves through us all the same. So
Time waits for no man.
exactly. And so, what the park was like when you're 25 isn't like what it's like when you're 35, 45, 55. So I think it's about also realizing that maybe there are different types of experiences you're going in for. So saying that you're going to do every ride in the Magic Kingdom and have a full meal at Skipper Canteen and this, and go to Crystal Path, you got to know that that's probably not going to happen. So, I don't know. What do you think about thinking you can do it all?
Yeah, it's there is just no way to do it all, right? I have gotten to live here now for 7 years almost, and I have not even scratched the surface. I feel like sometimes but I distinctly remember getting to the end of a trip, and I've done this on a couple of occasions where I go, gosh, I just feel like I went through the motions here almost. Like I don't know that I truly savored it for the big moment that it was. Like you plan and plan and plan and you get everyone there and you go from A to B to C, but did you really stop, really savor it, really enjoy
Yeah.
it? And you do, like you said, you do have to look your traveling party in the eyes and say, okay, what do you want to do? What's the biggie for you? And for our kids, we knew what their biggies were, what they would be disappointed if we left without doing. And we would make sure to do that for ourselves as well. Grandma's favorite is Impressions de France. Well, then daggone it. We all need to go do that. And yes, children, you need to sit through the 20-minute film. You just do. You'll appreciate it someday. But yes, you got to sit through it today. And when you can look back and go, no, I did get to go on my favorite attraction. I got to do that ride, or I got to experience that meal, or meet that character, or whatever. Okay, there's more of a piece, but it is just so frustrating to get to an end of a trip and think, man, I didn't do it all. No, you didn't. Take a deep breath. It's okay. Yeah. No one has ever gotten to the end of their Walt Disney World vacation and said, I have done it all. If they have, I would like to meet them.
Yeah.
I would like to talk to them. I'll write a little article about them because they are a unicorn in a field right now. Like that's an amazing thing. Just because there's so much to do. Just take a deep breath.
I think too, like, having that that drive to be like, I'm going to do absolutely everything. It can kind of leave you exhausted, and I feel like it has that domino effect on your days. The further the more continuous you do this for however many days here, the more, if you're there for like 2 or 3 days, whatever, if you're there for like 4 or 5 days, like your feet are gonna hurt, your hips are gonna hurt, like there's gonna be some pain that you are not used to, because humidity, whatever, it'll get to you. And I don't, I hate, it's always a bummer on those days where you wake up when you're at a park, because this is probably happened to all of us, and you're just like, my feet feel like they're broken, and you kind of dread, like you want to go, you are like, I'm so looking forward to being in the park, but it hurts so much to just start getting going. Like those are the days where I'm like, it's like what you said, savor it, enjoy it.
I think we've all seen those parents. It's funny. You'll see the parent who snaps at their kid in the middle of Epcot. Well, daggone it, I've been that parent who has snapped at my child in the middle of Epcot because something was, a miss at that moment. Take a deep breath. If I could only talk to myself years ago, I would have looked myself in the eyes and said, in the grand scheme of things, this matters not. You are in the middle of the Magic Kingdom or Epcot or wherever in Walt Disney World. Take a deep breath. You're not going to get it all done. Something will go wrong inevitably. You made mention of that. Something will go wrong, and it's going to be okay. This disappointment, while disappointing, put it in perspective. You're in the middle of Walt Disney World.
Well, and that's, that I think is a big thing. You have to remember that it can be an act of God. Like, we've obviously seen that in the last couple of months, but there was an attraction here that was struck by lightning the other day and was unable to function the next day. And that is not something that that was literally end of day. And then the next day, that's like, there's no controlling over that. That's sort of a thing. So you have to say to yourself, like, okay, if something like this were to happen, is my entire vacation hinged on this? And that can be a huge disappointment, but it's how do you handle the disappointment and how do you turn that around, and make it into something else, and so it's about trying to approach the situation from that, and that'll help it from spiraling, we'll say.
I like the way you said that.
Yeah. Do you have anything else, Deni, or?
That was about it.
Okay.
I think we covered all of my list here.
Yeah. I'm happy to report that I don't have major disappointments in my life that I look back on and go, oh, that was so disappointing. Here and there we've had some things go wrong, some issues, some of it on my side. Sometimes it is on Disney's side, and sometimes the service has not been up to standard 100% of the times. But I'd like to say that those are the fewer and rarer times. So it's just like we've said repeatedly. I don't know how many times I'm going to say this. Just be prepared that it might not always go the right way, and that you can turn it around. So hopefully,
and pace yourself.
Exactly.
Just pace yourself.
Pace yourself. Good shoes. Pace yourself.
Yes, good shoes.
And like I said, we are here to help you with anything that we can help you with to make sure that there won't be disappointments on your vacation. And the experts over at Dreams Unlimited Travel, they're the experts at making sure that you will be as least disappointed as possible. Was that enough double negatives? I hope it was. So thank you everyone out there for listening and watching. If you do enjoy this video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. And if you click the bell, you'll get notified whenever we're uploading any of our content. We've got all these shows, vlogs, wonderful content out there to help you plan a Disney vacation. Again, I said it before, visit the experts at Dreams Unlimited Travel and they'll get you started. It won't cost you anything, but you help support the day-to-day runnings of our show, which would be amazing. And that is going to do it. So thanks again, everyone. And we'll see you next time with another episode of the best and worst of Walt Disney World. Bye, everyone.